Hi, loving soul. So, if you're listening into this episode, chances are that you are in a relationship and it's been on your mind and your heart to maybe leave that partner. Maybe they're not making you happy. Maybe you feel like there's something amiss and it's not quite aligned with what you really want for your life. Or maybe you're just not sure if you should be committing to this person and spending your time and energy on them. You might even have a few alarm bells going off, or you might have spotted some red flags and you're not quite sure what to do with them. Well, I've got you in this episode. This episode is dedicated to you if you want to make a clear, informed, well-rounded decision as to whether or not you should leave your partner. So let's get stuck in. If you're done with spending your precious time and energy on partners who bring you heartbreak, anxiety, and stress, and you want a way out of the constant wondering why you aren't meeting the right partner, you are in the right place. Hi, I'm Remy, clinical hypnotherapist, EFT facilitator, NLP master practitioner, and your dedicated love upgrade coach. I went from being a codependent, anxious serial dater and marrier of the wrong men to being happily married with the warm, loving family household I could only dream of. I'm here to give you the blueprint you've been missing to understand and transform your blocks and limiting beliefs, connect with your inner wisdom, understand the power of energetics and my mastery, all so you can confidently attract the healthy, loving relationship you've always wanted and truly deserve. Let's expand your belief of what's possible for you. You deserve unshakable self-confidence and a relationship that feels right on every level. And it's your turn to attract it all. It's time to upgrade your subconscious and start some real life magic happening. So nestle on in and let's get to it. I don't know if this is where you're at, but I have definitely been in situations in the past where I hung around in a relationship for way longer than I should have. And usually the reason for this is because I was too scared not to, or I was getting something from the relationship that wasn't healthy. It was a codependent relationship. So I was outsourcing my sense of value and self-esteem and whether or not I was good enough, and I was hinging it on the validation from someone else rather than knowing deep inside that I was valid and worthy and great and lovable just the way I was without anyone else having to tell me otherwise. And if I'm being honest, I think I also used to ask people, I used to invest everything into sort of high needs men who were high maintenance really. And it was just a really good way. It was a massive buffer to stop me from having to do any work on myself. And instead, I just sort of lived for them and invested all my energy and time into them. I don't know if that rings true for you, but I can't help thinking that if I had had somebody telling me these 3 truths back then, I would have left relationships much quicker and had the space and time to move on faster with my life and enjoy myself more. But I'm really excited to be here now, able to share this with you. So the first thing that is so important to consider, as always, is how healthy and strong are the 5 root factors in your relationship. These are friendship, attraction, having congruent beliefs and values, having trust, and having respect. So just quickly now, write them down on a bit of paper or jot it down in your note-taking app on your phone and just have a think through all of those topics and just give yourself a score out of 100, how solid that feels for you. And note down what feels strong and then any weaknesses that come up for you as well. It's a really great way to be able to assess the health of your relationship. I really want to stress that there is no such thing as a healthy relationship that has even one of those root factors broken or missing. So it's really worthwhile doing. And even if it feels like a scary thing to do, trust me, it's so worth it because really there's nothing to be scared of. There's nothing more scary than being stuck for longer than you should be in an unhealthy relationship that isn't serving you. So way better to find out ASAP so we can do something about it. The second step is asking yourself a question. If I'm not happy in this relationship, and you know what, if you're here listening to this podcast right now, just ask yourself, what is making me stay? Is it because the relationship is in alignment with my highest and best wishes for my life? Or is it more because maybe either you're in a habit of being in this relationship, it's been going on for so long that you can't imagine your life without it? Or maybe it's a decision based in fear or scarcity. Is there a part of you that thinks maybe you won't find any better and you'll regret leaving them behind, and that they'll move on with their life and then you'll be stuck with nobody, lost and alone? Is that a thought that's playing through your mind? Because that is just your fearful ego coming up with thoughts of scarcity and fear. And you can call it out. You can just say, hey, okay, I hear you. All these, these thoughts I'm ruminating on, these things that haven't happened yet, that I'm thinking about, that are turning me off from making the space that I need to actually bring what I want into my life. All these negative, doubt, worrisome thoughts are all based from the ego. And don't get me wrong, it's the most valuable, wonderful part of our minds, but it should never drive our ship. We can drive our ship, sail our ship, drive our car, you know what I mean? It should never be the driver's seat. It's one of those things that keeps us alive and surviving, but it doesn't keep us thriving. What the ego does, it's part of the primal part of our brain, and it keeps us alive. So the way it does that is to keep us rooted in the familiar, even if the familiar is not serving us at all. As long as it hasn't killed us, this part of our brain will make us think that it actually is safe and something that we should be keeping in our lives. We should be tethered to this, whatever is known to us, even if it feels really crap, because we're still breathing and our heart's beating. So it's like a big tick. We haven't fallen down a volcano or fallen off a cliff or been eaten by a lion. So our brain takes it that we have survived and we should be doing more of this, which is in complete conflict with our true self. Our true self knows much better. Our true self knows that we are destined for more, and it has feelings and it has, wonderful desires for our life. It knows on some level, there's a big part of us that knows what a healthy, loving relationship should feel like. And that is the reason why we're not happy when we're not in that. We know something's amiss. We know something's not quite right. And all that is our amazing built-in navigation systems telling us that we've gone slightly off the path of alignment. And we need to just bring ourselves back into alignment again and start doing what is our preference. And it's rich with wisdom and learnings when we're in a relationship like this, or even if we're in any situation in life that feels bad. Just take note of it. Oh yeah, how interesting. This isn't my preference. I'm going to know that this is not what I want. And from that, I can craft what I do want and picture what it would be like and feel like to be in that vibration instead and have that in my reality. And then be excited that you know that this is what you want, because from that place, we can really start manifesting very well. So one of the most profound mindset shifts that I had when it came to relationships that really changed everything for me for the better was realizing that I had been seeing relationships completely the wrong way. I was grasping at them. And if I was attracted to somebody and they were attracted to me and we had chemistry and, then the relationship began, that to me was a signal to just assume that everything was going to be fantastic and to see this life for ourselves, in the future. And I would never say goodbye to that or I felt like it was knocking a gift horse in the mouth, saying, actually, do you know what? You're not really a complete match for me. And when I don't hear from you, when you say you're going to call me, I actually feel really crap. Or when you tell me that you don't want to be committed to me because of X, Y, and Z, that kind of doesn't sit well with me, or when you get drunk and you're rude to me and you call me a whatever for wearing a skirt, or you act, jealous or whatever because I'm talking to another guy even though it's just a friend of mine, blah, 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 blah. Any of these red flag things. Instead of actually really listening to how I felt about that, I would just brush it away and just sort of make some excuse for them or blame myself. And it wasn't serving me. I wish I'd known then that every relationship is a stepping stone towards what I actually wanted. And that if I just stopped and asked myself the question, why am I here? What is making me stay? I would have noticed my codependent patterns so much earlier than when I did. I mean, I had to hit rock bottom to notice them. But if I just had stopped and just asked that simple question, what's making me stay? And just being really honest with myself at the answer, I would have 100% have known that it's because I felt lost and alone, and I felt like I needed an escape hatch for my life back home. And yeah, it's fascinating. So it's a really powerful question to ask yourself. And if when the answer, as I said, when the answer comes up and it's something that you're a little bit afraid of, just remember that this is the most incredible stepping stone for you. And every time a relationship is left in the past, all you're doing is making space and room for what you do want to come into your life. Now, the third point is, this is going to sound a bit strange, but it's possible to just try on what it looks like to have a future without them. You can try it on for size. So the way I like to do it is I take a spot on the floor, like literally standing up. And then I take a few steps forward and I get the feeling that this is 6 weeks down the track. And you're going to have two of these, let's call them timelines. And one of them is going to be a timeline where you stay with them. And then we're going to do a parallel timeline on the floor where you leave them. So starting with the one where you're going to stay with them, you just take, as I said, a step in the future, like just 6 weeks down the track, and just notice what's going on in your life then. Just take it, if you had to guess what's going to happen in 6 weeks' time, if you are still with them, have a look at what that looks like. And then take a few more steps and then get the sense that this is 6 months down the track. And then do it again for 1 year, and then move on even further down the line for 2 years. And just see where your life's at. If you had to guess, just have a guess at how that feels. And then you're going to go to a parallel spot in the floor to where you first started, and just take a side step so you're, next to it. And then imagine that you've left them. And then take a step forward and do the same thing again. You go 6 weeks down the track and imagine you've left them, and see how that feels 6 weeks' time. Anything that comes up for you, any emotions or, pangs of whatever that come up for you at this thought of leaving them. And then you go 6 months down the track again, take another step, take a few more steps for a year, and then just root yourself in 2 years down the track. And then what I'd like you to do is explore your timelines. Take a look from where you're standing on one timeline and then look back at the other timeline and see what comes up. I know it sounds crazy, but it's very, very powerful to do this. And then you go to the other timeline and do the same thing. Look over at the other timeline. So if you chose the timeline where you haven't broken up with them and you stuck with them, and then you look over at 2 years down the track and where you had broken up with them, how does that make you feel? Anything might come up. I don't want to put words in your mind, but just see how that feels. And then do the same the other way around. So go a year or 2 years down the track if you had have left them, and then look back at yourself if you hadn't have left them and see how that feels. And it's a really interesting way to make a decision. Although we're not fortune tellers and we never know exactly what's going to happen, whenever we make any decision, we never know exactly what's going to happen. But we make it with the best, we gather all the data that we're able to gather, and then we can make a well-rounded, informed decision. And this is just another way of really checking in with your inner wisdom about how you truly feel about both sides of the situation. And it's quite incredible sometimes what comes up that hadn't occurred to us before when we were just purely thinking about it without spatially walking it out and sort of trying on each scenario for size. So give those 3 steps a try if you are thinking about leaving your relationship, and let me know how you go. Drop me a line either by email, remy@herloveupgrade.com, or come send me a DM on Instagram. My handle is loveupgradecoach. And let me know how you go. I would absolutely love to hear from you, and I'm always happy to help. Thanks for hanging out with me today. If you like this episode, please leave me a review on either Spotify. You can leave me a rating for my show, or leave a written review on Apple Podcasts. And that would just light me up. It's always so lovely to receive wonderful reviews. And also it helps me to get the word out there and get this into as many women's ears as need to hear it. If you have a friend who you think might be stuck in a relationship that isn't serving them, you're very welcome to share the love and send this over to them. That would be super. Let's try and get as many women as possible out of toxic, yucky feeling relationships and into relationships that just feel so much better. If it's possible for me, it is possible for you too. I can absolutely assure you that. Love is abundant. I hope this brings you closer to the life and love you are meant for. Have a great rest of the day. Lots of love. Bye. You should be so proud of this courageous, incredible journey you are on. And I'm so happy to be here supporting you to say goodbye to toxic relationships and claim the wonderful life and love you truly deserve. If you have a friend who you think needs to hear today's episode too, why not spread the love and share it with them? Sending you so much love in abundance. Until next time.